Welcome to Jazz Time. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below to buy it at JazzTime.com. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Rolex Day Date 2 41 millimeter in rose gold with a Ivory dial and Roman numerals, reference 218235. I'm going to talk to you about the history of the Day-Date 2, then tell you about where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar Day-Dates, then talk to you about the case bezel dial bracelet movement, finally try it on and give you my thoughts. So let's start with the history. This is the Day-Date 2. It could also be known as a Day-Date 41. It's the original Day-Date or President watch that was in the larger size. It was released in approximately 2008. Before that, Rolex was only making smaller day dates. Their President day date is the same thing as a day date, day and a date, also known as the President watch. The day date was made in 36 for many years. Since its inception over 50 years ago, it's always been size 36, gentleman size. But in 2008 approximately, at that time, watches were getting bigger, people were getting bigger, and fashion was changing to larger watches. So Rolex, like any other brand, wanted to fulfill that need by producing their most prestigious complication, the Day Date, in a larger size of 41 as opposed to the old small 36s, and they therefore came up with the Day Date 2. The old one was called the Day Date 1. Naturally, this would be called the Day Date 2. So they released the Day Date 2, which is 41 millimeter, and it was a smash hit. It was the first time that Rolex produced a precious metal Day Date that was not tiny 36, but instead a good, strong, beefy size 41, and that's what you see here. They produced this 41 Day Date or Day Date 2, 41 millimeter, for about 7-8 years from 2008 until 2015. And then in 2015, they sort of realized, you know what, it's a little bit too big. We're going to go back down and change it to a 40 millimeter. And therefore, the name changed from Day Date 2 to Day Date 40. Okay, now let's move on. That's a little bit about the history. Let's talk about where this watch stands in the current line of other Day Dates. As I just told you, the Day Date 40, which is the one that's currently in production, is 40 millimeter, and what you see is 41. Here, this is the Day Date 2. So that means that the Day Date 2 is the largest President watch ever made, and probably will be the largest ever would be made. So if you like larger watches, now I know 1 millimeter is not a lot, but if I had the Day Date 40 next to this one, you could definitely see the size difference. And if you just Google Day Date 1 or 2 versus Day Date 40, you'll see Jazz Time has done some comparisons on them so that you can see the difference. At any rate, the main difference is that 41 millimeters is 1 millimeter larger. You might not think that's a lot. It actually is not a lot, to be honest, but it is something. Okay, at any rate, the Day Date 2s are no longer in production, so you cannot get them anywhere. The only place you can get them are on the gray market, and if you want to get the best condition at the lowest price, click on the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com. Okay, now for the Day Date 2s, as you see it here, they made them in all three precious metals, white gold, yellow gold, and rose gold. What you see here is rose gold, and they made it in many different dial configurations. And we have them on our website. I'm going to go through all of them because there's many of them, but you can simply click on the link in the description below, or go to jazztime.com and search this reference number, and you can find all the different variations. And most likely, I'm not going to guarantee, but most likely we either have it or we can get it for you. Okay, anyways, that's a little bit about where this watch stands in the lineup. And if you were wondering, you know, they've held their value remarkably well because they don't make any more 41s, and there's plenty of people who do want to buy 41 millimeter as opposed to 40. And so they maintain their value in the mid 30s, and they're pretty much the same price as used Day Date 40s. So they've held their value very well. Okay, That's where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar ones. Now let's talk about the case. The case, as I just told you, is a 41 millimeter. That's the longest distance across the bezel. The 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock position, that's 40 millimeters. Other than that, it's not much different from the current day date. Now, what is different about this one versus the day date 40 is that the lugs are a little bit fatter. They're a little bit wider, naturally, because the watch is bigger. In the newer day date 40s, the lugs are also a little bit more streamlined and thinner. Here they're beefier and chunkier. So it depends. If you like a beefier, chunkier, thicker watch, well, this would be it. If you like a thinner one, more streamlined, then you should go with the day date 40. Okay, but that's a little bit about the case. Okay, now let's move on to the bezel. The bezel, again, it's rose gold, but if you were to compare it to its successor, the day date 40, the bezel on the day date 2, which is what you see here, it's a little bit beefier, a little bit chunkier. You really have to see them side by side to know, but you can also look at it on our website and you can see. Anyways, the bezel is fluted, it's rose gold, and there you have it. Okay, now let's move on to the dial. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about this dial. What is impressive? Well, first of all, it's not a white dial. It's actually an ivory dial. The ivory meaning it's kind of like a off-white, not exactly white. Now, why do they do that? Well, I think it has to do with the way that it goes together with the rose gold. It makes it just has a much nicer look to it. Now, if you look at the current day date 40s, they only put a white dial with rose gold. They don't do an ivory dial. That's right. The dial on the current model is white. So if you like ivory, which gives it sort of just this little hue to it. Now, if you look at it carefully, you'll notice what I'm talking about. It's subtle, but it is still something. It's ivory, not white. Okay? They still have the same Roman numerals, although the Roman numerals look slightly different in this one than they do in the day date 40. Just take, for example, if you look, you see here at this, it says 6 and then 7. Okay, 6 and then 7 on the Roman numerals. If you look at the new day date 40s, on the 7 o'clock position, they only put one ticker. Why do they do that? Because you see it makes the watch look a little bit lopsided when you put the Roman numeral 7 here as opposed to just one little tick. It's subtle, but it's there. Okay, anyways, that's the dial. Now let's move on to the movement here, or the bracelet. The bracelet are actually pretty much the same, except that I think the older version, which is what you see here, does not use ceramic sleeves in between the links so that it doesn't stretch the band. I'm not so sure about that, but I'm pretty sure. But I do know for sure that the day date 40s nowadays, they do have a ceramic sleeve. That might be the only difference. There is no comfort extension on this. It's just the President band as you see it. Now, the President band is the only option when it comes to strap or bracelet on the day date. And rightfully so, because the President band is iconic. It's 3 semicircular links going across, very supple, done very nicely. It's iconic, and it can be seen a mile away. So anyways, it's a great bracelet. And it has a hidden concealed crown clasp that it folds over and then you cannot see it anymore. So it actually looks like a bracelet. Very beautiful bracelet, I might add. Okay, and then let's talk about the movement. Now the movement shows that the movement in this watch is the most complicated for this Oyster Perpetual. Now they have actually, I'm sorry, that's not true. The Sky Dollar is actually more complicated, but it's one of the more complicated watches. It's not an annual calendar, but it is a monthly calendar. It can tell you the day, which is Monday through Friday at the top, and the date 1 through 31. So you do have to change it every month if you're wearing this, because some days have 30 and 31, even 29 or even 28 days. Okay, anyways, the movement on this one is an older movement. It's a 3156. It has a power reserve of 48 hours, which is more than enough, and you can't see the movement anyways, so I'm not sure that it matters. The newer movement is a 3255 and has a power reserve of 70 hours, and it's a little bit more precise, plus minus 2 seconds a day, as opposed to, I think this one's plus minus 7. I'm not sure about that, but at any rate, you can't see the movement. It was very good. It is very good. And so let's just leave it at that. Now, let's move on to my final thoughts in trying this watch on. I'm 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. I have a 7.5-inch wrist, and as you can see, the watch looks very nice on me. The Day-Date 41 is the biggest Day-Date made. I think it looks very good. I cannot say I think it looks better than the 40. I think the 40 looks amazing. So what are my thoughts? Well, I would say that I would go with this watch if you like ivory as opposed to white. And I would say go with the 40, the Day-Date 2 if you just insist on having a bigger watch. I think all other items are, all other things that have changed are not really that big of a deal. The biggest deal is the size and the dial configuration that you like. So if you like a dial that only exists in the Day-Date 2, then you should get it. And if you insist on having a bigger watch, because let's say you're a bigger guy or you just like bigger watches and you insist on it, then this is a really good option. Actually, it's the only option. So that I would go with that. And otherwise, if you don't care for those few things that I said, then yeah, of course, go for the newer one. But if you want to have the old school larger one with these configuration, this is the watch to choose. And if you want to buy it anywhere, where do you go? You click on this link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.